Welcome everyone to another Univirtual Experience event. We are so thrilled that you're here, and we are beyond thrilled that we have people from HP on the stage with us today. So before we get started, I just want to remind you that Univirtual Experience is a partnership between educators of VR and the Virtual World Society. They are bringing together experts and innovators in immersive education, disrupting education around the world. Now, an event like this, 30 days, 19 platforms, somewhere between 170 and 190, we'll figure it out in June, events, this does not happen without sponsors. And we are thrilled to have as our Infinity sponsors HP Virtual Reality and HP Higher Education. Now, they just released a new edition of the HP Reverb G2 that is perfectly designed for higher ed with pulse and eye monitoring and testing, and other innovations excellent for precision controls, research, and development. You can check out information by going to educatorsinvr.com or head to hp.com and check out HP Virtual Reality and HP Higher Education to learn more. Now, we also want to say a special thank you to our Galaxy sponsors, Engage VR. I don't know if you've experienced any events in Engage, but I hope you've taken the opportunity. We've had some mind blowing experiences over there as well, so we're so grateful to them. And Advantage Education is sponsoring Educators in VR own world builder, Mark's Euphoria Nightclub. And you still get to experience, there's another social still on the calendar for this month, so make sure you check it out. Now, without any further delay, I just want to pass the mic on to Matt and this amazing panel. We are so grateful and thrilled you're here, Matt. We appreciate all the support, and I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Donna, and thanks so much, everyone, for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. And big thanks to our panel over here to the other side of me, to my left, your right. Let's give them a big round of applause. We're going to do a round of intros here, let everyone introduce themselves and what they're doing with VR. But really appreciate them taking the time to join us. They're going to be great to speak to, and we've got a really exciting event for you. So without further ado, my name is Matt Gaiser. I'm with HP's VR Business Development Group. And I want to thank you for being here, and I want to introduce our guests. So Megan, we're going to go to you because you're right next to me. Megan is from University of Nebraska. Megan, if you don't mind, please give yourself an introduction and tell us a little bit about what you're doing with VR.
Great, thank you so much. My name is Megan Elliott. I'm the founding director of the Johnny Carson Center for Emerging Media Arts here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. The center we just opened up in 2019. It's brand new. It houses an undergraduate program as well as other kinds of programming. And even before our doors were opened, actually, we became part of the HP EduCore's Campus of the Future program, the first in the Big Ten. And it's been a thrilling partnership for us and has really kind of opened the door for us to really embrace VR in a big way. I'm actually sitting at my desktop today because I have so many notes and I don't want to be in and out of the headset. Otherwise, I'd be joining you. And I just want to say congratulations to everyone. What a brilliant event, what an ambitious event. And if it's been anything like your Discord channel, it's just been going off. And this is where I laugh. It's one of the most, you have one of the busiest Discord channels I'm on. So we're using VR in multiple ways across the university, but I'll speak primarily from how we're doing it at the center. And we're all about emerging media arts. So for us, VR has primarily been around storytelling. It's been around prototyping, a place for us to collaborate. We've been holding classes inside VR during COVID. That was something that happened during COVID. We've held galleries and exhibitions. We've made movies inside VR. We've used them for spaces to prototype, to critique work, and as I said, to exhibit work and to collaborate in real time. And the kinds of VR tools, our toolkit really, is Mozilla Hubs and Spoke has been important to us, ALTSPACEVR, VR Chat, Rec Room, and all of our students are learning not just to code deeply. Some of them aren't learning that. They're learning to use the tools in other ways, but both game engines, Unity 3D and Unreal. So that's kind of us. Classes include, some of our classes are in collaboration with computer science students. And one of the things actually that all of our professors noted about this last semester, which was all remote learning like everyone else, was that our students now appear to be much more resilient and curious and not debunked by bugs or tech problems, and they really have started to wrestle with them head on. So that's been a big learning experience for us over the last wee while in the pandemic. So thank you, and I'm happy to, if there's more that you'd like me to cover, Matt, or is that a good intro?
That's fantastic, Megan. Thank you so much. Going down the line here, Jason, please introduce yourself. Tell us what you guys have been doing with VR.
So my name is Jason Webb from Syracuse University, and we've been part of the HP EDUCAUSE program for the last 5 years, I guess. Doing some amazing stuff, introducing it. It started with our Newhouse School of Communications and talking about journalism and emerging media too. Megan and I have kind of a lot of similarities in where it's kind of taken off and where it's gone. Now we have programs all across the campus that are utilizing it in their curriculum, from architecture to engineering to our visual and performing arts. We have working with theater professors, being able to do volumetric capturing for theater performances, monologues. So we're kind of all across the campus. Over the last couple of years, I've helped start the XR at Syracuse group, which I'll talk about a little bit more later on, and tell you how we got started, which is always fun. And then myself, I do a lot of research with photorealism and volumetric capturing in XR through my PhD and my doctoral work and research. So it's a great community that we've kind of established over the years. We've grown leaps and bounds, and I'm always excited to see what's going to happen next.
Thanks, Jason. Justin, Barry, take it away.
Hi, everybody. So I'm a critic at the Yale School of Art and what's called core faculty at the Center for Collaborative Arts and Media at Yale. I'm also the principal investigator for the Blended Reality Laboratory, which is sponsored in large part by HP. We were part of the we were kind of like the test case for the Campus of the Future project, and we've actually been staying with it the whole time. In terms of what we do with virtual reality, we actually do a lot of stuff, but the projects that I'm most involved with are focused around creating art exhibitions in virtual reality, working with different artists to create kind of art exhibitions that take place in both the physical and virtual world. And we've had some that they've exhibited in New York, in Frankfurt, Germany, in Galway, Ireland, and in New Zealand as well. So it's been pretty interesting to explore. The other thing that I've done a lot of work with is trying to create some new tools for people that want to be creating VR experiences, but that also want to focus on kind of meaningful interactions rather than kind of learning code. So we created a Unity asset store package called the Verb Collective, which is designed to kind of get people making experiences the fast and dirty way, and just get started making things. I also teach a class at Yale, 3D modeling for creative practice, that the last 2 semesters were taught largely in ALTSPACE. Actually, we would have most of our sessions in ALTSPACE. Each student had a laptop, a headset that they worked from, and it was a little bit of an adventure. And one last project is we are going to be working next year to build a wheelchair-based interface for virtual reality, something that's been done before, but we're trying to kind of do it in a really interesting way that's not necessarily about giving people that are in wheelchairs access to virtual reality. Actually, it's a investigation into whether might actually be a better way to use virtual reality for everybody, rather than just people that are in wheelchairs out of necessity. So that's my not so short, but hopefully sweet introduction.
No, that's great. A lot of amazing work you're doing. Thank you, Justin. Question for you, Justin. You mentioned teaching in VR, and you mentioned doing a class in VR. If you had to summarize what was maybe your favorite part or best experience teaching in VR, and then what was it for you? What was it for your students? Takeaway. I think the audience here might really benefit from hearing that.
Well, so I think that the thing that I was happiest about was one of the projects that we did involved working with a person who has a rare type of brain tumor. And so we worked with them. We had access to their MRIs, and we created 3D models of their brain, including the tumor. And what we did was I provided all of the students those models. We looked at how it was created out of the MRIs. And then each student created a kind of way to look at or try and understand that brain in virtual reality and ALTSPACE. And actually, we gave the person whose brain it was a tour of their brain in all these sort of different settings. And I thought that was really interesting because the person whose brain it was thought it was really interesting, and some of the doctors that we were talking to got really excited, and some future projects kind of growing out of it. But the thing that actually moved me the most was there was another student in that same class who actually was diagnosed over the course of the semester with a lung condition. And they took the technology we had used to visualize the brain, and he actually used it to translate his own lung scans into a 3D model that he could navigate in ALTSPACE. And he gave us a tour of his lung and talked about it. And he described that as being one of the most kind of cathartic experiences that he had. And I think that trying to find those spaces where virtual reality can kind of just do something that nothing else can do is what's really exciting. So it's fun for me as a teacher to see the making stuff. And I think that to see a student find that kind of deeply personal engagement out of it, I was really excited about.
Yeah, that's great. Wow, really cool, really excellent. Thanks for sharing that. Kind of want to move on a little bit here. Back to you, Megan. Something that kind of keeps coming up throughout this event, but really anytime I help anyone with VR is this last year and a half, really the pandemic. I mean, question here is, what have you done to sort of help manage to the pandemic? How has it impacted VR in your environment, for good or for bad?
Great question. And, it's a question that the industry is answering. And it's just been an accelerant, hasn't it? I mean, not just for what we're doing in education and here at the Carson Center, but for our entire industry, be it in terms of virtual production, VR, or entertainment and screen-based works generally. So as soon as we were sent home, it was like, poof, the Carson Center's over. So we immediately rebuilt it, actually using our AutoCAD design, because the Carson Center had just opened launched the November prior to the pandemic, and took all of our online learning into Mozilla Hubs. And that's where students took their projects, they got down and dirty with Unity, they took their films inside Mozilla Hubs. We had people from around the world, other professionals come in and critique our students' work. And these were first-year students, that were just 6 weeks into their second semester. And then when we had our Open Studios event, where we had people from all around the world come into Mozilla Hubs to see their work, it was actually somewhat liminal. We even hired the same DJ that we would have hired in real life at the Carson Center to spin tunes inside Mozilla Hubs. And in one room, there was 4 generations, which otherwise would never have been able to get together to see that student's work. So that was really powerful. What was also powerful is that Mozilla Hubs couldn't quite believe what we'd done. I think through sheer exuberance and enthusiasm, what we were able to do inside Hubs, they thought that we should have broken it and we didn't. So the developers of hubs were really thrilled that their platform was so much more robust than what they had imagined. And then going into what did we just have? Spring semester. That's when we held a number of VR classes inside VR using VR chat, as well as Unity, playing around with Rec Room. One of the first things we did actually was go and buy clean boxes so that we could continue to operate our VR lab, even though we were in the middle of the pandemic. So that was pretty amazing to have an active lab during the pandemic with social distancing and all kinds of, hygiene protocols in place. We also really questioned, I love what you said, Justin, about, VR, not just as an empathy machine, but how it can actually have impact on the real world and on people through our experience and experimentation with embodiment. And one of the things we did was we engaged with Lajane Millen and her work around Black bodies and collecting data of different kinds of bodies, not just white tech bro abled bodies, and to really engage critically with cultural experiences whose voices weren't being heard, and other kinds of critical engagement with the tools and the technologies. And students found that really, really powerful, questions that they hadn't perhaps engaged with before. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you. Jason, same to you. What have you guys had to do over the last year and a half to keep things going?
The biggest thing for us is getting technology in people's hands. We have a lot of different centers across campus that were utilizing the XR technology. We had a bunch of HP backpacks that we pushed out and got into the hands of researchers so that they can continue doing what they were doing. That was our biggest thing. And then very similar to both Megan and Justin is we started looking at how we could increase our sense of presence, I guess was the biggest thing we were looking at. And we started playing around with ALTSPACEVR. We started playing around with Spatial. We would meet as a group in different platforms. And one of the ones that we discovered that we really liked was Frame VR. And I had worked with one of the creators of that years ago and reached out to him and said, hey, what are some of the cool things you're doing? And he jumped in and showed us some amazing stuff that they do within there. What's really nice about that platform is you can make your own space. You don't have to worry about people jumping in and out of it. And we had one of the professors in the architecture program had her students redesigning the different interactions. We had other groups doing art installations in there. So they were able to create their own spaces and be able to do some really great stuff with it. And again, feel like they were present. And I thought that was really cool and a great way of kind of jumping the gap from being remote and having to be separated from each other. But again, the biggest thing we were trying to do is get the technology into people's hands so they can continue to do the work and continue to push and innovate and just have conversations about that over the last year. But yeah, again, not becoming disconnected. That was hard. And getting people together to continue working together and pushing. Some great projects came of it. We had one project that was funded and produced over the year, which was a Route 81 project. In Syracuse, New York, we have a highway that goes right through the middle of the city that kind of split apart a very diverse area and a historical area of the city back in the 60s and 70s. And now they're looking to kind of take that highway back down the street level and bring back that that area. And so as part of the project, we showed through photogrammetry all the different historical landmarks, the historical spaces, and what kind of effect that the highway had on those historical spaces, and brought back diversity and brought back the cultural influence that used to be in those areas, and how going back to the street level traffic and street level roads would help bring that community back. So it was a great project. It was done mostly in Unreal, done with XR experiences, and a bunch of professors from our XR at Syracuse group that have been working over the years together, came together and created this amazing project.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Jason. Justin, I know we talked a little bit about this the other day, but pandemic-related challenges. What have you guys done to manage to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I sort of had a running joke that was not funny, but was kind of serious, which was to say that the Center for the Collaborative Arts and Media, where I am based, is that it's filled with all these kind of fancy pieces of technology, but actually the most important piece of technology that we had was our open doors, this sort of space that anybody could come into from across campus. And obviously that took a hit during the pandemic. But it actually created some unique opportunities as well. I sort of took advantage of the opportunity to provide each of my students that take my class with a laptop for the duration of the class and a headset for the duration of the class. I know that's something that's not always possible with everyone's resources, but I kind of took advantage of that, and it created some really unique and interesting dynamics. I think that VR has a sort of blessing and a curse in the context of the pandemic, which is that the sort of in-person centers are a little bit harder to do because they do require the clean boxes, they do require a little bit more work, and depending on the university, we actually weren't even allowed to let students in the building no matter what. We just didn't have an option. But the way that virtual reality makes shared experiences accessible across all kinds of distance. I had students this semester, or last semester was a lot more distributed, but I had students in Korea, I had students in China, I had students in England, and I had students all over the United States. We were all meeting together in the same shared virtual space, and it was just a unique opportunity, and the ability to kind of bring in people that otherwise wouldn't be available to join. I thought that was pretty exciting.
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah, just keeping everyone connected, bringing people together. I hear that as a theme here, and that's obviously a great use for VR. I mean, here we all are to listen to some great speakers. I mean, this is fantastic. Thinking about maybe some of the early days, thinking about early successes or obstacles of getting VR on campus and keeping it there and getting students leveraging it and using it and teachers using it for curriculum. What can you guys share about that? Maybe you go ahead and go first on this one with any, just the journey and what it looked like, maybe early obstacles and successes.
Change is always hard, and I guess getting people inspired to march along beside you and to embrace these new forms of technology and to look at their applications for things beyond mere entertainment. Not that entertainment's a bad application. I think also for people to ask the really, really central question of why VR? What is the necessity of developing this experience in VR? I think a lot of us in the early days saw a lot of work that, it could have been a documentary. It actually would have been more powerful if it had been a documentary. So those kinds of things. And I'm speaking there really more from an industry perspective because, the Carson Center is so new. Some of our challenges have been really about just some things about like when headsets might default to Windows mixed reality or and not be so Steam forward. We haven't been shy of using, third-party plugins to get around that. And then things like the Oculus, we decided we weren't going to ask all of our students to get a Facebook account so that they could have a Quest, and we didn't buy them all one. Whereas I know other schools decided to kind of ignore those potential privacy implications and buy all of their students a Quest. So those kinds of conversations have been, difficult, or at least we've been having them. And then I think originally perhaps even some students to be not quite so curious or interested in debugging, kind of just throwing their hands up. But now, as I mentioned in the opening, that we, they're much more curious and much more resilient about that. I just wanted to add one other thing about one of the accelerant properties of the pandemic and the uptake of VR was it also meant that our students were accelerated much more in the documentation of their own projects and work, because we're building with the knowledge that this software could be out of style very soon, or they might make work now that when they want to show their employer in 4 years' time is no longer supported. So to really document their work in this fast-moving environment. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. That's amazing. Jason, over to you.
This is a great question. One of the things that we're really proud about, since the HP EDUCAUSE project started, the Classroom of the Future project started, trying to get people to work across the different silos at our university. We have 12 different colleges underneath the university. As one of the favorite statements I heard from an administrator years ago is, we don't have silos, we have cylinders of excellence. Trying to get people to come together and cross over and share resources and share knowledge and be able to work on projects together. Like I said, the Route 81 project is one of those culminations. But we literally started as a group that met in local taverns, local pizza shops, and we would go all over Syracuse finding restaurants to meet in, and we called ourselves the VR and Beers group. It started doing 360 videos with a bunch of professors, and we live streamed a couple of our meetings on YouTube with a 360 video camera, and it built into a lot more. We started finding projects that people started working together with and started developing. And like Megan said, the biggest thing was documenting what we were doing and how we could not have drop off year to year. So we'd get these amazing graduate assistants or juniors and seniors in our undergraduate program, and then they would graduate and we would almost have a void of information. So we started documenting and working together and finding people that kind of build each other up and build the programs together. And I've had a lot of fun with that. So we've been able to really put together some resources and connect dots and break down some walls and bring people together to kind of find that commonality that works really well. This summer, we're really excited. I have 5 professors I'm working with, and I'm gonna, sorry, Justin, I know you are huge into Unity, but one of the things I'm trying to do is break people out of their shell of Unity and get them into using Unreal and trying to see what Unreal options there are, see what we can do with both of those platforms and see where we can best have some experiences. So I'm working with 5 professors and 5 TAs this summer to help build documentation and build up a platform using Unreal and the new HP Omnicept, how we can use that to do some research. So we're really excited about that project this summer. We're really excited to get together and start exploring and seeing what we can do. And it all started as a VR and Beers group, and now we're developed into this really cool organizational group that does some great stuff together. And we're
that's awesome.
Growing more and more with TAs and RAs and just, undergrads just diving on board. It's not exclusive. Anybody that's, wants to get into it, I'm more than happy to have them be a part of it.
Oh, that's great. I love that. I love hearing that too. Really looking forward to the research you're doing with Omnicept as well. So for those of you familiar with that platform or want to learn more, we've got some slides over on the sides of the stage, and our expo hall has it too. But yeah, we're really excited for that technology, and so glad to hear, Jason, that you and your team are working with it. So big round of applause to you guys. Justin, kind of same question, early success and or obstacles that you've had to deal with evangelizing VR on campus.
Well, it's funny, the early days, we had the first sort of VR setup that we had at the center was actually in the back of an overfilled storage room that I kind of dug out a bunch of stuff. It was in this dark, dingy corner that was difficult to access. We had one Vive and we had one PC, and I had a group of about 5 or 6 graduate students that we would meet and try and make stuff, and none of us knew what we were doing. I mean, no one knew Unity, no one knew anything. It was just like, let's just try this out and see what we can pull off. And some of those early projects were just really powerful. One of the people did this. It was really simple. It was just like a giant rock. It was like an asteroid floating in space, and there were other rocks, falling down towards you. There's a little campfire and a flashlight with good music playing. But it was so powerful because it so effectively taught us about so many of the features of VR, right? Like, well, we didn't want to step off the edge of it. I mean, the fear, I mean, we would just sit there and talk about that, and you would have this little flashlight and you would look over the edge of this asteroid into to oblivion and just were unwilling to take a step off. I found it really really powerful to have that kind of intimate and meaningful experience with a small group of students when there were pretty low stakes. You switch to now, right? We're just going to be opening a new lab in the fall where we're going to have 5 super powered workstations with reverbs attached, where everything's on wheels and you can move around and go everywhere, and there's it's a lot of fancy equipment, and I'm really excited to take advantage of that. But it definitely was a slow going road to getting there. I think that a big thing that changes the game is that the technology now is much more mobile and much more fluid in terms of both its capability and its format than it used to be, right? Quest has its problems. Like I think Megan really pointed out the problematic nature of having to ask students to have a Facebook account. But correspondingly, it's like that's one form of access. Then you have something like if we have artists that are going to be creating content in VR, which is something we're really trying to support and do, you kind of want to have them on a reverb or something like that. If you're going to have small little labs set up, things that do require those base stations and all that stuff like the Vives, that's kind of fine for these small fixed spaces, but being able to create computerless opportunities for students, laptop and no I don't know the best way to say it, but no kind of ancillary installation stuff, as well as having sort of fixed super-powered computers in a smaller space. There's a lot of opportunity there at a lot of different price points, and it's something that almost every community, I think, can take advantage of in different ways. That's a really different narrative from the very, very beginning. The other thing that's nice is how capable the students are today versus when we started, where none of us knew what we were doing. We were all just kind of poking at the myriad of buttons in Unity and trying to write code, and it's like, what's a for loop? And figuring it out as we went. But now it's like when we go back to the school this fall, I'm going to have a group of students. They've created massive AR experiences across campus. They will have interned at Unity over the summer. They spent the year taking a gap year building virtual reality language learning projects. So we're really going to be entering this new semester with this huge pool of student excitement and capability. And it's just dramatically different from being in that back of the storage unit with one PC. I guess the only thing that I would say is like kind of advice for people trying to get started is that if you're starting out with just one big computer in the middle of a storage space like we did, don't be afraid to share that space with people. I mean, I know it's a little complicated now with COVID. I think it's about bringing people in to have shared experiences is really powerful at giving them a sense of what they can actually accomplish. Just what we've been able to do in ALTSPACE has actually blown some people's minds in the way that we can bring a lot of people together to do it. So yeah, it's a changed game since the beginning,
Yeah.
but exciting at both stages.
Yeah, that's a great journey to hear about, right? From the closet all the way up to, a full blown lab with everything you need to set up your students for success. And so happy to hear too that they're coming back to the fall with a lot of great projects to work on. So that's really cool. We do want to leave ample time for Q&A. I've kind of got a question here though, just for anyone who wants to grab it. And Justin, you may have already touched on it a little bit, but kind of before we close out, like thinking about partnership with HP and what that's brought to the table, how that's helped. Anyone can take that one, but just what does that look like, and how is partnering with our educations teams and our VR team, what's that brought to the table for you?
Oh, look, it's been gold. It's been absolute gold for us. It's been gold not just to have access to the tools to play with or the expertise of HP. It's been gold because, my chancellor has loved it, right? So it gives us halo. And then I think opportunities like this and to meet up with colleagues like Justin and Jason and others through the HP EDUCAUSE Campus of the Future Consortia has just been incredible. I think, it's these kinds of consortium relationships which really help us bring the whole industry and sector forward, and just to learn from each other and how we can take our learnings back to our own campuses. So I've loved it.
Well, I'll definitely echo that and agree with you. Just the relationships alone in being introduced to the amazing panel up here and being able to work with them. I mean, this is the second time the three of us have presented together. Just these relationships and resources and development that HP has helped us with has just been immense. And again, like I said, breaking down barriers and connecting dots across not only our own campus, but other campuses. If I have a question or I need to reach out, I'm not afraid to reach out to Justin with any questions I have, or Randall. He also work with different campuses of, hey, I'm stuck on this problem. Can you help me out? Or have you seen this happen with your faculty? That's helped us grow immensely over the last couple of years. And it's exciting. It's very, very exciting. And for Megan to come on board and to see what they're doing with the Johnny Carson Center, it's almost like a little competition. I remember during EDUCAUSE a couple of years ago, Justin and Randall handed out their flyers in your program of what you do for virtual reality and extended reality at Yale. And I remember going, man, we really need to step up your game. And Randall looked at me and said, yes, you do. And that helped born XR at Syracuse. So, it's little things like that that help push us and help us build a community. And it's been great. I can't say enough great things about it.
Yeah, the one thing I'll just say to that point is that, my background's in art. I'm an artist, and yeah, and I'm also an educator. So I've worked at universities and stuff. I've never actually been involved in the kind of the business world or the kind of corporate world. And I actually have found the perspective really, really enlightening and interesting. It's like when you look at different technologies that you're using as an artist, you think what makes sense or what's interesting or what works or what doesn't. And I've actually just learned a lot from meeting with, for a while before COVID, we would actually fly out and meet with HP's research team every year. We'd go to Palo Alto and meet with them. And just amazing conversations that changed the way that I thought about these kinds of technologies, but also the way that my students did. And the access to the equipment is obviously important and powerful, but it goes beyond that, I would say, to just the community. And same thing meeting Megan and Jason, and just there's tremendous, amazing, remarkable people that are involved in the community that HP's helped put together.
Yeah, it's great to hear. We work really hard to to bring this amazing technology to the market. HP is and always has been, an engineering company, right? Our goal is to engineer experiences that amaze and create the most desirable XR ecosystem we possibly can. And so that's at the core of everything we do. Whether it's computers or headsets, or the work we do through education or healthcare, you name it. That's really been our focus. Guys, I want to thank everyone for coming here today. Big round of applause for our panel over here. Come on, get the emojis out. I think we're going to do some Q&A. Unless anyone has on the panel any burning desires or anything you may have left out you want to share before Q&A kicks off. Perfect. Donna.
Absolutely. You guys know what to do. The raise hand is there. So if anybody has a question, go ahead. I am just going to bring myself down to the ground. I'm floating above it. And we have a question from Daniel. You're first up.
All right. Thank you very much. Daniel here from Educators of VR. Thank you all for coming and being part of the Univirtual experience. These are the kind of conversations that we have this conference for, where we've got people with experience from different backgrounds and hardware manufacturers, and we're all collectively learning from each other's experiences. It's like a town hall for everybody to share. That was the initial reason for getting started. I have a question, Matt. I can't believe I've never asked you this. You have such a reputation for hardware. Is there any software that you provide, or is it strictly an engineering company? I'm curious, in the XR space specifically.
Yeah, we do. We do have a software team. Certainly that's a great question. Thank you. That has helped us with our Omnicept SDK for our new HP Reverb G2 Omnicept edition. As a developer's SDK, so we're starting to work in that space as well. And then we do have, a broader software team, obviously, that works on any number of things for the software for our PCs, as well as, we have print devices and large format devices. But you might be thinking about content, right? You might be hinting at that. As of right now, our focus is really on the hardware side of things. We've got very strong partnerships with Microsoft, a whole ISV network that we work very closely with to help bring applications to the market, and some of them even are launching on Omnicept, which is amazing. As well as partnerships with folks like Steam and the Valve company too. So definitely rely on our partners for that, and the partnership there is at the heart of everything we do.
Excellent.
Thank
you
Daniel.
very much. Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question? Please raise your hand.
I have another question. I
Okay.
always have lots of questions.
Okay.
Yeah, wonderful. I think it was I think it was Justin with the you're the artist, right? At Syracuse. And so have you learned through using this new tool as an artist, have you learned about art in general through this new perspective? So has it made you look at art in general in any new ways?
I think that's a pretty interesting question. I mean, I think that yes and no. I think that I see it the other way around, which is to say, my art practice has always been a little bit conceptual and critical. And one of the things that I do is I try to really deeply investigate the mediums that I use, especially kind of emerging media. The stuff that I'm most well known for is I take photographs from within video games, and I kind of do a lot of work with that. So I've spent a lot of time in virtual worlds. Years ago, I used to have a fictional art gallery called the Waymaker Gallery, and I've sort of done a number of projects that took place in and out of reality in different ways. So I don't think that virtual reality changed my relationship to art. I think that art has made me, I guess that what I'm trying to say is, I'm really deeply fascinated about what an art experience can be in virtual reality, or what it should look like, and how it's less about making some object or image to look at, and it is rather, it's more about creating an experience that does something or means something. So I found that really exciting and energizing. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
Well, great. Thanks, Daniel. Okay, Mark. Mark Jeckcock is up next. And Matt, I was just telling you about the photogrammetry classes and the showcases pieces in the exhibit hall, and that's Mark. So Mark, go ahead.
Where are we? Hi. Have you get more and more headsets into your universities? There becomes a management problem. I used to work in an IT department, in terms of how are you tracking these headsets, who's responsible for them, how are you rolling out software to them? Do you have any tools that you're using for that, or can we just compare and contrast there?
Megan's got an answer.
No.
Oh dear.
Thank you.
Same.
Thank you. Yeah.
There is no answer?
Do you have more, Megan, or no?
I will say one thing. I would say to echo what Megan said. It's a little bit of the wild, wild west. We are now finding better strategies, but like when we started, we had like one Steam account and one Unity account, and we just bought, assets. We'd buy them with the Unity account, and we'd buy them with the Steam account, and kind of just share them, because there weren't that many of us. As we've grown and trying to sort of do things appropriately, we've looked at different solutions in terms of the software. To be honest, no. we don't have anything that works. I mean, we have things that like we're surviving with, but I would say that we're still trying out new options.
Yeah, for us, depending on the center, and what group it comes from, our central ITS handles a lot of it, but we lock down the devices when it comes to Steam and Oculus and everything. Not so much Oculus because we're kind of in the same boat. We don't want to force people to use Facebook, but when it comes to the devices that people are borrowing, we have a bunch of the HP backpacks. We've actually bought bags for the backpacks with the reverb headsets. So we have like whole packages that go out to students to sign out and use and track. When they come back, we check them in, we make sure the software is up to date, nothing's broken, and we continue that cycle. So we kind of have a system for that. But
using the management by the fact that you've got it, they're all in effect laptop equivalents. So you're just doing the software control that way. Okay.
Yep. So we kind of treat it in that way and kind of control that way. But I mean, when it comes to accounts and everything like that, we, use the central accounts through the university, but when it comes to Steam and everything, we leave everything for them to control. We do have devices within some of our centers that we have like generic, like Justin was saying, generic accounts for people to come in and experiment with and try. And, we'll buy some software so people can come in and play Beat Saber and whatnot. But yeah, it's very similar to what Megan said. No, we don't have really a central control beyond what we had to start with.
One of the things we do have, of course, are sandbox networks, so that it's not connected, so that we can have machines that aren't locked down and it's not connected to the university's edge your own network, and that's really important, be it for this kind of technology or for the Internet of Things. And again, it's about a cultivation of culture of trust. So yes, students are able to come and download whatever they want on the machine, for example, that I'm currently using, and there's this trust that it's not porn. And we've been okay so far.
Excellent.
Okay,
Thank
thanks, Mark. Daniel, you're up.
I have another question. Off the back of the issue of device management, and this is something I think a lot of our community feels. A question for Matt, is that something that HP is considering? Given that it's a challenge that many educational institutions have, some kind of multi-device management solution?
Yeah, certainly, with device, I'm thinking as I'm hearing these responses, physical security is obviously level one, right? In any IT infrastructure, you have to have your physical security addressed, and then manageability. All our headsets are PC tethered, right? So I always encourage, manage it like a laptop. Keep it plugged in, whether it's a laptop or a desktop or one of our VR backpacks. Definitely keep it plugged in. The tether helps it not grow legs. Not only does our PC tethered solutions provide, unbelievable clarity and optics, but it also keeps that device connected, right? It's not it's not completely fail-proof. It can be unplugged. We certainly do have folks in various industries and location-based entertainment who actually, for video game arcades and that sort of stuff, they have to physically secure the device to the machine, and they've found really unique ways to do that. But yeah, definitely treat it like it's a laptop. Physical security is always layer one, and hopefully too, that who are using this technology are adults about it, right? And they're paying attention to the fact that this is an amazing tool. We're lucky to have these tools, especially on campus, and keeping them there is a matter of being mature enough to use the technology and also that physical level of security.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone else have a question?
I'm going to ask another question.
Unless Daniel has another one.
I have
Go
another
for it, Daniel.
question.
I have
Um,
one after Daniel's.
Okay.
I'll
all
let
right.
Daniel go first, though.
Yeah, okay,
Actually,
sounds good.
if I could really quickly just say one more point about that kind of idea of software management and security and stuff. The one thing that is really notable about this kind of thing is you've got students building stuff in Unity or Unreal or whatever platform they're using, and you need kind of boutique solutions, right? It's not like every PC looks exactly the same. You have students downloading assets, you have people developing their own things, you have one computer you want needs to have like the best graphics card, one maybe doesn't, but you need a big screen. That's really weird in a university setting to manage and deal with. And I don't think that I have great advice other than you have to compromise a mixture of allowing for those boutique instances where students are installing their own software and giving them admin privileges, while at the same time utilizing some of your university's IT support. Because it's all good till it's not all good. Anyways, that's my quick thought.
A lot of flexibility and trust.
Yes. So my question then, Matt, if I'll just squeeze it in before you, is kind of along those lines. I was involved in setting up an immersive learning lab here in North Wales at a college, Coleg Minnau, and we were doing really well, all set to run a really innovative project with some migrant workers and refugees. And then COVID struck, and for some people, COVID was an accelerant. And then in my situation, it actually forced me to shut down the lab because the college just was struggling with just basically getting everybody onto a Chromebook, right? They had another priority suddenly. I wasn't established enough for it to be a viable solution to roll out. My question is, in my case, the IT department didn't or still doesn't know very much about XR, VR, AR. They know about kind of the Chromebooks, laptops, tablets, internet, and so on. But I actually found that challenge, even from the IT department, who specializes in IT equipment, not being specialists in XR, not understanding what I was trying to achieve, was a bit of a barrier. Does anybody share that experience? You're going, Justin?
Yes.
Yes. Good. Thank you. Okay.
I mean, with my position, I work with Central IT on our campus. As an instructional analyst, I have a tight relationship with a lot of our backend support for all of our enterprise systems and software and hardware and stuff like that. So anytime something new comes on campus, it's the first conversation we have, is how it's going to be utilized, how to best secure it, how to make it safe, and how can we best deploy it. And, we're big into security issues. We're big into making sure that people utilize the technology is the biggest thing. But it's definitely a conversation that I've had to pull in a lot of people. HP has been great with that, having conversations with the engineers or pulling in education department to say, hey, this is what it's going to be used for. These are the capabilities, and being able to answer those questions at different times. So utilizing the HP as a sounding board of, myself, I don't know how to exactly answer that because I don't know the full technical aspect of it, but I know who to find the answer. And HP has been great in doing that, talking about partnerships too.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent.
So just Megan, you had put your hand up, and I assumed that was just inadvertent. So I didn't ask you, but were you wanting to say something in particular?
No, it's fine.
Okay. And Matt, I'm going to take one person before you, and then we'll do yours
No problem.
last. Is that good? Justin. Oh, Justin, it's you too on stage, right?
Oh yeah, no, I was trying to be funny.
Okay,
Actually, Megan was funny, and I just sort of doubled down on jokes.
Yeah.
It was less funny when I did it. But she,
Oh,
you
you
know.
guys are hilarious. Okay, Matt, you know what? We're getting to the top of the hour. Why don't we close out with what you wanted to say?
Okay. Yeah. My closing thoughts really is a question. I mean, raise your hands or show me some emojis. Who's having an amazing univirtual experience? I know I am. Come on, audience, give us some love. It's a two-part question. Okay, that's part one. Part two is, who wants to see this panel back again next year?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. Can we?
Oh,
Definitely.
consider it done.
Cool.
Very nice.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I do want to thank everyone for being here. Big thanks to Univirtual Experience, Educators in VR, and Virtual World Society for putting this amazing event on. It's been amazing all month long. We're rounding out near the end. Not quite there, a couple more days. So definitely come out, show your support, and learn some things along the way. So Donna, please take it away.
Can I
Thank
just
you
jump in, Donna? I don't know if you're going to mention the added support that HP has made available to us.
Go ahead.
You know what I'm referring to? I didn't want
I
to.
do
I didn't want to
not.
steal it.
No, go ahead.
Do
Go
not.
ahead.
Okay. Well, HP as our Infinity sponsor has been amazing, and they came back to us and wanted to offer the community and the membership an extra little something. I say little something. It's actually quite a big something. They've offered 8 HP G2 Reverb headsets to raffle off. And we are running now. We are running this on Discord. Please check out our website, our social media posts. You'll see the information there, how you can take part in this raffle. Some are going to be raffled at on Discord, and 2 headsets are going to be raffled live at an Engage event on Saturday. So keep a lookout for that. And thank you, HP, for that. That's an amazingly generous offer you've made to our membership. Thank you.
Yeah, so glad to see
thank
what you guys are doing for VR.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. Of course, I know about that, Daniel. And sorry, I had not added that to my notes. And
Didn't want to steal your thunder.
no, that's fine. I said at the beginning, or sorry, close to the end of April when we were getting ready for this event, and I was on stage at an event, and I said, assume when you see me in May in any platform, assume I'm probably sleepwalking. And that has proved to be a little bit true. And so, you guys, thank you so much, each one of you. That was just awesome, and I'm so glad to hear that the conversation will continue. So I just want to close out by again mentioning sponsors. We're so grateful to have HP as our Infinity sponsor, HP Higher Education, HP Virtual Reality. We are thrilled to have Engage VR and Advantage Education. We also have stellar sponsors that I want to mention, and I'll just go through the list, and I want you guys to keep those emojis going. Maybe we'll get, if we don't see them on
Yay.
camera, all of them, we'll hear the clicks, right? But we've got Grove XR, we've got Dr. Angelina Dayton, who we all know as a VR lady who does amazing things with students in VR. Frame VR, we've had such fun events over in Frame. Learn Bright, we just did that this afternoon. Please check out their exhibit hall. It's really worth it. LearnBrite, BRITE.com. LBX Immersive, Waking Dream XR. They're all have all come to the plate. And I just want to say, my name is Donna McTaggart. I've been in in virtual reality for 3 years. And I spend more time here than I do in the physical world by a long shot. And I'm always saying, let's meet in VR. So that's actually the name of the company that I created. It's been an absolute pleasure for me to work behind the scenes with these inspiring speakers and panels and getting people together. And this has just been an amazing experience. So thank you. And last but certainly not least, we cannot stop without thanking volunteers. We have been filming. We've had people filming all month long. We've caught almost every event, and you'll be able to look them up at Educators in VR YouTube channel in June. Some of them are there already, but we'll catch up with all of them. And and also in ALTSPACE especially, we need moderators. We know what crowds get like, and we have Lance and Stan's here today. We've had other ones helping us during the month, Spy Girl and Word Girl, and we've just so appreciative of all of you participating. So this brings us to the close of another Univirtual Experience event. It is day 27. This goes all the way to the 30th, so make sure you check the calendar, educatorsinvr.com. We have lots of fabulous programming going on still. And the last thing I will say is, next up, the doors are actually already open, so a few of us are going to get over there quick. The exhibit hall is amazing. Mark's done the most amazing job putting the exhibit hall together. Mark Jeffcock put a few could only do a few in that space, but put a few of the sculptures that were those amazing pieces that were done through his photogrammetry class. And HP is there, of course. So that's where we're going to head to next. Okay. So with that, I'm going to officially close this event. Cameras, you can stop your